This week could be the start of the end of it all, is what some are discussing, especially as if the political turmoil, the earthquakes, the floods weren't enough in Venezuela. Now their skies have become blood red. All across the country, we need to have a discussion about what is going on in the middle. To tell you, especially after looking into scripture on this video, you could see the prophetic signs in the sky, how it might just have something to do with the time in which we are living in. If you think that you're always going to have tomorrow,
$100,000 people could be dead. That's what the United States Geological Survey is warning after 2 earthquakes struck Venezuela just 39 seconds apart. On June 24th, the first hit at 7.2. Before anyone could react, a 7.5 followed. The epicenter was near San Felipe, Yaracuy, about 100 miles west of Caracas. But the shaking reached everywhere. La Guaira, the coastal state just north of Caracas, was hit the hardest. More than 250 buildings collapsed. The main international airport was heavily damaged. All flights canceled. In Caracas, a 22-story building in Altamira came down completely. Hospitals were damaged. Telecommunications went dark. The shaking was felt as far as Bogota, Colombia, Aruba, the Dominican Republic. Over 50,000 people are reported missing. Rescue teams are still digging through rubble with their hands because there isn't enough heavy equipment. This was Venezuela's most powerful earthquake in over 125 years, and it hit a country already in crisis. 920 people are confirmed dead so far, but rescuers haven't reached every neighborhood yet.
We have some really sad news out of Europe where the death toll has risen to 2,129 plus deaths according to weather fatalities and the data that they've compiled out of the various sources available. Now this is 1,058 plus in France, 1,029 in Spain, 25 in the United Kingdom, 7 in the Netherlands, 7 in Poland, and 3 in Romania, which is a truly tragic situation. As you know, there is a big aversion to air conditioning in Europe, despite the fact that many people die during this heat wave. It is just a true tragedy that some of the most vulnerable people are in these numbers, especially people who are elderly, disabled, etc. And I find it really terrible that they are not embracing the sea.
Global health officials say more than 1,300 deaths have been linked to the record heat wave blanketing Europe. That toll is likely to rise as France alone reported at least 1,000 deaths above normal last week during some of the country's hottest ever days for the month of June. In Berlin over the weekend, police shot water cannons to cool down sweltering crowds. And in Budapest, Hungary, temperatures today soared to more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, far above normal even for summer.
I hardly left home and I'm sweating all over. This is simply unbearable. 28 degrees Celsius, that used to be summer. I don't know what this is now. What is coming to us after this?
Meantime, tens of millions of Americans are also under extreme heat warnings this week. Triple-digit temperatures will bake the Midwest and East Coast as the country prepares for July 4th celebrations.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News.
Shalom, Kol Yehau, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashim, Kafada, we always to Yahweh, Heavenly Father, name, Yahushai, which people ignorantly call Jesus Christ, is written in Hebrew, Hebrew, while to the other apostles, great Muslim, who do well, teach the truth, as is the prophets, after the prophesied, by the sacrifice of the elect, as is the believers, that can knock off that believe and listen, believe on the truth to the Holy Spirit, which is all Kafada. You know, based on the Miss Cliff, signs of the times, man. We're getting closer and closer to the end. The Lord's keeping up the heat. You know, it says in Matthew, it's gonna be signs that the Lord's gonna send. In Matthew 24 chapter, earthquakes in diverse places. There'll be increase of earthquakes in most places. Some have it at the same time. Floods. All these things are scourges sent from amendment. That's the second Ezra. You know, I believe in 16th chapter, the Lord's beginning to visit the earth. Again, Matthew 14:24, you know. And if people are realizing that, it's not that people are realizing, hey, the Lord, you know, is on his way back, you know, but it's not, but it's on his way back for the elect of the children of Israel. Not for everybody. If you're not part of the elect, you're going to be destroyed here. You know, and back on the grid, however, you reside. You know, and can't create judgment. You know, it's good to tell you in Job, no matter perish being innocent. But let's get Matthew 25 and then 24. What verse is it? Yep, verse 9 start with. It said, you shall hear wars. It says, let's start beginning. It said, and Yahweh shall answer, said unto them, it said, and as he sat upon the Mount Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the signs of that coming and of the end of this of the world? You know, we're talking about this world, this rulership. Well, meaning AI means age of rulership, because a second 69 96 said Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. You know, scripture said the earth is about its forever. So it's not gonna be the end of the world, the whole planet explode. You know, things are all over. We all in a cloud floating somewhere else. You know? It's still gonna be the earth is still gonna be here. There's gonna be a new imagine a new rulership. That's what scripture said. It was coming to conquer. There were unsaid there were many crowds, meaning to dominate nations. There's gonna be another rulership. They say I come not to bring peace but a sword. The Lord's come for the war to take back what he is, you know. Take back what belongs to him. Because the wicked has certain time to rule. The Gentiles, the other nations, not the Gentiles referring to in the New Testament to the Israelites that are calling themselves the other nation, you know, forgot their way, living among the other nation. No, the Gentiles, the heathens, you know, have a certain time to rule. You know, when the Lord returns, he's going to set back his people on top. You know, and it's going to be the kingdom of heaven, it's going to be the eternal kingdom. Every wickedness, damage, the wicked has done to the earth is Esau and so forth, man. But the scriptures not all, because you got some more people that look like, you know, heathens. You know, they'll be Gentiles, follow thinking they of the Hebrews, but they follow the mess up on Negro, Latino, and Native American, the Israelites, what I speak of. You know, they're gonna be a on top of a nation and kingdom. You know, but in rulership status, it's like the elites are at the top. Now, even though you got certain Edomites, you know, at the bottom, hey, that's on them. But it says, and as he sat upon the mount, you know, that, and how shall I answer? It said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Yeah, there are a lot of false prophets coming up. You know, he's already this person already false prophet. Uh, um, and they're saying he's coming. You know, he's a so-called Christian that he's a father, but his actions say otherwise. He's doing everything opposite to the scriptures. Um, it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But it is not yet. And you see the wars and rumors of wars. We're at war right now. You just haven't escalated to the Third World War, which is going to lead to the nuclear fire, the lake of fire, spoken in Revelation. It says, just go jump down, several nations shall rise against nation, and kingdoms against kingdom, and there shall be famines, which is coming, pestilence, destruction, trouble, and that earthquake in diverse places that you see. You know, go to get Isaiah 29. Isaiah 29, verse 6 says, thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts. The Lord is doing this. With thunder and with earthquakes and um, with, with great poise, and storms and tempests and the flame of divine fire. That heat. You got a lot of people dying from that heat, and especially in Europe when it's hot over there. It's like they don't have air conditioning. They don't have. It gets humid also because it's rain over there. You know, it was cloudy over there. You know, and then a country that's in the east part, it usually get hot also. You know, when it gets hot, it gets hot. They have most deadly heat wave. And you also got in Babylon, the south. Areas that live in the south. You know, and the western part also. You know, there's people have died from these. They're not at all. They're just rising. You know, it's the revelation, a Lord scorching the earth. I believe it's Revelation 16. It's in 59. It says, and many were scorched in the day heat, and blasphemed the name of the Lord, which had power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. Yeah, the Lord had power over these plagues. You know, Amos 3 and 6, that evil that you in the city, the Lord have not done it. Job 4 and 7, because whoever perished is innocent. You know? You know, Ecclesiastes, the third chapter talks about judgment happen under the sun, you know, this earth. You come here to get a clear your judgment, you know. And you saw in that video there that Jesus left a pile of, you know, it's gonna be like that. And when it really kicks off, you know, a pile of coffin, you know, right on the edge. That's how many people that died in that earthquake. You know, it was beginning First Peter or 4:7. Let's see, beginning at his house first. You know, the truth has been out. And so Lord's gonna start with our own people, but it also, you know, the transition is gonna be done simultaneously. It's being done simultaneously. This transition, the curses happen on the heathen nation. You know, they got also judgment. Coming from the heathen nation, all people, look at all people. And so it's happening simultaneously. Downfall of Esau and not downfall. Well, it goes hand in hand. Downfall of Eve, Esau, and the two thirds because they go hand in hand. You know, what it says in scripture, I believe, the hand go hand in hand. The hand go hand in hand. Let me see if I can find it. Um, Proverbs, I don't butcher it. Proverbs 11 and 21. So the hand joined in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished, but the seed of righteous shall be delivered. You know, it goes both ways. Though you associate, not associated, but you near someone with it, you know someone with it, you know, whether you're cool or whatever the case, doesn't mean you don't get punished with them, but also because we all be wicked, think you whether our judgment together, you're still gonna get judged. You know, basically the wicked, this thing, the wicked is not gonna escape the judgment, no matter who you know, what you do, because it's every individual. You know, between you and how about me, if you're the elect or not, you know. Let's get on second is 9 and 2, which I believe what's the 9? Mm, okay, listen. Second is 9 and 2. It said they shall understand that it is okay. 9 and 1 he answered me, then it said, measure not the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the time pass, which I have told thee before, which Lord told you before, he said, thou shalt then shalt thou understand that it is the very time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, and we in that time now. Therefore, when there shall be earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, then shalt thou will understand that it is the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem, spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So these things were prophesied that happened from the beginning. So it's following the script. So it doesn't matter. It's not a coincidence, I should say. It just happens to happen. And right now, with 250th year of Babylon the Great, usually empires fall on that range, 250 years, or slightly higher, 252, 254, around that range, that's when empires fall. And the only empire that's not going to fall in the kingdom's fall. The only kingdom that's not going to fall, the kingdom of heaven. You know, it shall establish a kingdom which shall last forever. You know, it never be corrupted. It'll never be taken down. And that's what's coming. For Esau, the end of the world. And Jacob, that coming is what coming after. What's the paraphrasing? And also, he said, I said, I mean, Isaiah 45, you know, a world without end. No kingdom's gonna be a world without end, a rulership without end. 45:17 says that Israel shall be saved in the Lord, which is with everlasting salvation. You shall not be ashamed nor confounded or without end. Yep. And because right now the wicked is being revealed to everybody, you know. So Revelation 12 and 12, because if you have but a short time, and they shall come down with great wrath, and lead back to the corner, and the colder beast, a corner animal, he's gonna lash out. That's why you got him moving on. Lord speeding things up, telling him to speed up. Those demons he's summoning, pretty soon they're gonna abandon. They're using stern or whatever, trying to gauge the future up to no avail. Because the future is set in stone. The ending's already written. It's script. Let's end this with this. Because you could get God too. Any of us could get God. You know? So we gotta pray and stay on the right path. So this could be, we should make no change and turn to the Lord. And for not of day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth. And that security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. If anything you good, then none of them they touch you. You know, it's not the right mindset because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, of wisdom. You know, with that fear, you're gonna walk more circumspectly. You know, making a wise decision. Don't take the Lord. Don't head in trouble. Avoid crowds. You know, not quick. Quick to talk about don't follow through quick to the evil. And don't run too quick to the evil. You gotta take a step back when you see certain things that don't add up. You know, but with that, I find trouble.